Okay, this video, it's going to be in a logistics again, / field gear, once again, talking about rations. But because it's later in the year, it's December 1st of 2023, I figured maybe I should focus more on cold weather. So this video is going to be on how to make your own cold weather rations. Now, the things that I looked at, that I got information on when I was coming up with this, is from the US, the ration cold weather, or RCWs. This is the older cold weather ration. This was replaced sometime in the late 90s, is what it sounds like, with the meal cold weather MCW. You can still find both on the surplus market because these rations have an extremely long shelf life because there is no liquids inside them. They are designed for long-term storage. They are designed for being deployed out in the field, left in hidden caches out in the field, and you don't got to worry about them freezing. Now, the ration cold weather, the older ones, these were 2 packs equaled 1 meal, and each case had 12 bags in it, but it was only 6 meals because 2 of those were a single day's ration for a soldier. They were denoted as A and B bags, so it was like number 1A, number 1B, 2A, 2B, so on down the line, to 6. There was only 6 different entrees. The total calories for the RCW, because it was a daily ration, was around 4,500 calories. Now, nutritional breakdown in those was 8% proteins, 32% fats, and approximately 60% carbs. The reason they went lighter on the proteins is because research, at least at that time, showed the more protein you have, the more water you have to intake for your body to process it properly. And they found that an RCW required around 90 ounces of water to rehydrate, to get everything prepared so that you could eat those rations over that 24-hour period. Now, the MCW, the current ones, those are single bag, single meal. Approximately 1,500 to 2,000 calories per pouch. They have a nutritional breakdown of 15% protein, 35% fat, and 50% carbs. So they pretty much doubled the amount of proteins inside there. Fats stay the same and just a little bit less on the carbs. Per pouch, it requires 34 ounces to prepare to rehydrate so that you can eat that individual RCW meal. Now, think about it, that's per pouch. They said with the RCWs, it took way too much water, 90 ounces of water spread out over a 24-hour period. Well, 34 ounces per meal with the MCWs comes out to 102 ounces of water. So the newer stuff, you actually require more water to rehydrate and prepare for digestion. Now, the guidelines for U.S. military rations, if you want to look this up, comes under the MRDA, Military Recommended Dietary Allowance. You can find it under AR, Army Regulation 40-25. The one that I found posted online was 1985, but there was references that it was updated in the 90s when they came out with the MCWs. Now, I also looked at British 24-hour cold weather rations. So the British issued their stuff to their troops in a full, here's a 1 day's pack. And this pack is about the size of a 2.5 gallon Ziploc bag. The calorie count on those is around 5,200 calories in that ration pack. So the British actually give more food to their troops than the U.S. military says our troops require. And I will mention that in the research that has been done late Cold War to now by the U.S. military, the Department of Defense, they found that when they gave out that 4,500 calories to their troops, they were still always hungry and they never felt like they were full. So take that into consideration here. I will point out, if you are looking, you want to skip all this of throwing it together and just buy them pre-made online, that's your choice. If you're buying individual MCW rations, which are the easiest to find now online, but even those are still hard to get a hold of, they go for a minimum of $20 per pouch. So a minimum of $20 per meal. You've been forewarned. Now, some may wonder, why are they hard to find online? Because the only locations these are being issued that I am aware of is Alaska and Fort Drum, New York. Those are the only two locations in the U.S. Army that I've heard the RCWs and the MCWs are a regular issue item during winter time for feeding the troops. Okay, so what is inside a MCW meal, a meal cold weather? First off, you have a freeze-dried entree. You have a package of essentially Kool-Aid, a cold drink mix, one package of a hot drink mix, one package of soup, and it looks like 2 snacks / sides. These are going to be more carb-heavy. Items that I've seen listed is granola bars, oatmeal, nut raisin mix, chicken noodle soup, and they've started to branch into ramen, it looks like, according to Ron Stryker from a pack he was given, fruit bars, and crackers. And also inside that individual MCW ration is a single accessory pack. This accessory pack is not going to have Tabasco sauce. It's only going to have items that can freeze, so dry goods. So now you guys have the basis that I'm going off of, and I'm going to show you some examples of the different areas. Then I'm going to show you my recommendations for what should be inside your rations, should you so choose to make them. Now, I'll do this disclaimer in case people come across this. Be aware, this is a militia channel. This is primarily focused towards militia and patriots who are trying to prepare for a possible defense of their rights and their families. If you're coming in here as a prepper or a survivalist, you're welcome to be here, don't worry. I know a lot of people get really put off about this being a militia channel. Now, first off, entrees. This is an example of what is inside the current MCWs and was inside the RCWs. This is the one that would have been inside an RCW. These are the same as your regular Mountain House meals, but they're in a smaller package, vacuumed down to make them more compact. Now, these rations are supposed to be 1 to 1.5 servings. This particular is 1 serving. Your average pack that you're going to find of Mountain House in the store is typically going to be a 2 serving. They do have something that's like adventure packs or pro packs. Those are vacuum sealed along this line, and they're typically around 1 serving. Those are meant for people that do like really deep woods hiking, camping, and mountain climbing, so that they save on space inside their packs. But this is what you really should look for. You can get a hold of these by going to Mountain House's website, which is Oregon Freeze Drieds, or Oregon Freeze Dried Foods. They do sell these in the store directly from the factory. How many you're going to be able to get a hold of, what's available for entrees and that is always dependent on what the military is ordering at that time and how many extra they have on hand, how much of an overrun they did. Obviously, Mountain House meals should be self-explanatory. They are the gold standard for freeze-dried meals for a reason. Why? Because they're the first ones that did it. Started in the 1960s. And they first got into it by creating freeze-dried rations for the troops in Vietnam. When the war ended, they had to figure out a new business model because their main contractor wasn't contracting with them anymore. So that's when they went into the hiking and camping market, later were adopted by the survivalist market, and then the military came back to them sometime in the late 70s, early 80s, and started working on the cold weather rations. So they, did full circle. Now they're covering most of the market. Their stuff is very high quality. They have a considerable amount of research and experience in it. Use them as your gold standard. They are getting expensive though. Right now you're looking at $9 to $12 for a single package of entree from Mountain House depending on the store. Another option that you have is, as Modern Minuteman keeps pointing out, the rice and pasta meals. These will work also. These are dry. All you typically have to do is add water. If you want to add a little extra to it, like extra veggie, extra meat, it's actually on the back saying you can do that to improve it. But one of these alone will count as a meal. There are other options out there, other freeze-dried meals. First off, I would say stay away from Wise Foods. If you want to find out on them, do a search on the little fight back and forth between Mountain House and Wise Foods. There is one that is appearing on the market more and more now, at least in my area in the stores, and that is Peak Refuels. It looks like there is a lot more inside the ration pack. And my plan is I'm going to get some of these to add with these so it has more of a menu. Now in the snacks or the sides category, first off you're going to have some type of soup. Ramen noodles, can get them anywhere. They also give you salt, and they'll also give you carbohydrates. Inside the U.S. ration packs, they're issuing out packs of soup mix along the lines like this, but they're in a package like this. The ones you can find in this type, the easiest is chicken noodle and also onion if you want to change stuff up. And there are multiple companies that make that stuff. Next up, I would say in there, bouillon cubes. This is tomato bouillon. I would recommend, if you're including bouillon in there as one of your sides, figure 2 bouillon cubes to equal a single serving. So that way you can make more of that soup. But be advised, there's not a lot of calories in this stuff, but it will supply the salt that you are losing when you're moving around wearing all that cold weather clothing and you're sweating into those clothes as you're moving around. Next up, oatmeal. You can get it anywhere. You can get it plain. You can get it flavored in whatever way you want. With these, I would recommend 2 pouches to equal a single serving for you in cold weather rations. Another thing, obviously, MRE breads and also MRE crackers. Also the pound cakes and also cinnamon buns as an option as a side. You can use these as snacks as you're moving along in the case of this stuff, or have it while this stuff is heating up, or while you're eating these, you're heating up this stuff, whatever you come up with. Now, in the snacks category, I don't have everything, but I have at least some of the main stuff I've seen. First off, granola bars. I will make the suggestion on this because you are looking to make something that you want to store long term, say 2-3 years or more. Probably the granola bars you get should be just the regular granola bars, either the fruit and nut or just, plain type. You do not want the ones that are coated in chocolate, coated in peanut butter. Nature Valley is the one that the U.S. military contracts to. They've been supplying granola bars for MREs and MCWs for a very long time. In the British rations, they are issuing beef jerky now. So, single beef jerky stick. Or if you're doing a daily ration, the British military is putting out larger bags of jerky inside their daily rations. So something along this size would probably work. If you're looking for that smoking hot peach I just showed you, that was apparently a limited test run that was done by Jack Links, and it looks like it was not as successful as they thought, so they discontinued them. I got a bunch of them when they were clearanced at a Walmart. Another thing, fruit and nut mix or trail mix, and then some type of nut. Almonds, peanuts, cashews. The ones issued by the military are not salted. I prefer getting the ones that have salt to, once again, replace the electrolytes, replace the salts that your body is losing in movement and activity. Things that I don't have on here that would fall in the snacks category. Chocolate bars, that is a thing that you see in the British rations, and we're not talking your regular Hershey bars. These are basically 2 to 3 times the thickness of a standard Hershey bar. They are extra thick. They provide a lot of energy as you're moving around because of all the sugar. Another thing is, the British call them boiled sweets. Well, in the United States, what would be the easiest for you to get a hold of in a store that is comparable would be Jolly Ranchers. Also, you have in there cookies. You can find those in stores. And M&Ms, that's something that appears in MREs. It can appear in the MCWs and does appear inside the British rations. The British are real heavy on sweets inside their ration for the cold weather rations. Now, in the drinks category, obviously, military drink pouches. This one is chocolate hazelnut cocoa. So any of the military pouches that you could get a hold of. Otherwise, you can get the civilian equivalent. They're out there. Civilian cocoa packets. They're everywhere. They're cheap, especially right now. Cider. I do recommend that. It's a nice change up. Also, which I don't have on here, packages of coffee, the individual servings of instant coffee, and tea. You can get tea flavored also. It just doesn't have to be just straight black tea bags. They have flavors. They have fruits and all kinds of stuff, and your chamomiles and all kinds of other things that are supposed to be better for your health and stuff. And then cold drinks. This is an easier one I'm trying to get a hold of more now. Things like this are individual drink tubes. You don't heat these up, but it'll be a change. Instead of just having something hot all the time, maybe you just want to have something that's just sweet, like a Kool-Aid. This will work. You can also use Kool-Aid packets. Put that in just the plain packet straight inside a canteen cup and add water to it. It's not going to be as sugary as you have it at home, But guess what? It worked for the troops in Vietnam. So these are some examples on the different categories. Entrees, sides, snacks, drinks. So, looking at the available information that was out there, looking at some reviews of different cold weather rations, what have I noticed that you should kind of base your homemade rations on? How much of each? Now, if you're going to copy an MCW, so an individual meal, first off, the calorie count needs to be between 1,500 to 2,000 calories. And that is per meal. During winter time, you're going to expend a hell of a lot more energy because of moving around and your body trying to stay warm. The U.S. military has found you need a minimum of 4,500 calories per day in cold weather operations. And I've come across references that it looks like the British found you need to issue 5,000 to 6,000 calories per person per day in cold weather. So in a single meal, one freeze-dried entree of your particular choosing, one side, 2 to 3 snacks, and I'll say at least 2 drinks. You could go 2 hot drinks or one hot drink and 1 cold drink. Now with the sides, my recommendation is this should complement this. So let's throw in some examples. Let's say you get a beef stew freeze-dried meal. What could you have as a side? How about some minute rice? So get a hold of the box of minute rice. I didn't get a hold of one because they were spendy at the store I looked at. Get a hold of that. Measure out 1 serving's worth. Figure... I'm just doing a calculation in my head quick. Figure maybe between a half of a cup to 1 cup's worth of the minute rice. And what you can do, you can vacuum seal that yourself at home with food saver bags and have that ready. That will pair with a beef stew. So while you're mixing up the beef stew, you can also mix up the minute rice, and then you just pour the rice right into the beef stew, mix it up and eat it. Another option is the instant potatoes. There are flavored ones out there, and then there's also the plain. Do the same thing. Measure out the single serving in your opinion. Put it inside a bag, vacuum seal it, maybe throw in a oxygen absorber pack. You can buy those in bulk online on eBay and Amazon and from survivalist / prepping stores, so that you have that to go with whatever your entree is. Otherwise, soup. If you get some type of Asian entree like a teriyaki or something like that, that might be something where a package of ramen noodles might pair really good with. Anything else, if you're looking for some type of hot side, the soups or the broth will pair really good. If it is a breakfast entree, like your omelet and that type of stuff, oatmeal will pair pretty good with that. Another thing that I forgot to get a hold of that I just thought of, how about cream of wheat? That, I think, just comes inside bulk boxes, so you'll have to measure out a serving also and make your own individual pack. And if you don't want a hot option, you got your crackers, your bread, pound cakes, and so forth. You can get a hold of packages of cheese spread and peanut butter from Military Rations. You can get those in bulk if you want to pair that off with the bread or the cracker. How long will that last in a cold weather environment? Truthfully, about 1 winter. So it's going to be your call on that one. Now, the 1 day pack. With that one, you're going to want 2 to 3 entrees, 3 to 6 sides, 6 plus snacks, so at least 6 snacks, and at least 6 drinks. And with the drinks, you want at least half of those to be hot drinks. Your cocos, your coffees, your teas, your cider mixes. Now, I do recommend you add accessories to your meals. This is a accessory pack from an MRE. This one actually does have the coffee pack in it. It does not have the Tabasco because that's been discontinued. So probably you're going to want to copy something along the lines of this. Well, what's inside this? Typically, you're going to have a small package of creamer. You're going to have a small package of sugar. You're going to have a small package of salt. These are things you can get even at the store in bulk. They also have in here a package of matches, toilet paper. They also throw in a wet wipe. Wet wipes, for the most part, are pretty much useless in winter because I've found that they do freeze. I found that out. And I know someone's going to say, no, they don't. And I'll say, yes, they do. And if they're not frozen, typically they dry out almost as soon as you pull them out of the pouch because of the dry air. So probably copy something like this to have inside your individual meal. Have something along this line, but multiplied for a single day. And I will point out that in the British rations, the matches that they issue for their day packs are stuff like this, the stormproof matches. These are ones that are designed to be used in wet weather, designed to be used in windy conditions. So this is probably more along the lines of the type of matches you should have inside your cold weather rations. So just going to do one quick look over on my information here. And I will say this, okay, last thing, feeding a soldier in winter, the U.S. military's guidance is 1 to 2 hot meals per day, and on that they're talking A rations, B rations, or T rations. A rations are meals that have items in them that require refrigeration or freezing. B rations are canned meals. So think along the lines of canned soup, canned Chef Boyardee stuff, your canned pastas. T rations are tray rations. You can get those on the surplus market. The newer ones are a hell of a lot better than the ones they used to have back in the 90s. And to go along with this, remember 3 meals a day, so you have 1 to 2 hot meals, the A, B's, or T's. Well, then you'll have 1 to 2 cold weather rations. Now, in combat operations, you can't get to a field kitchen. They can't get the stuff to you. You're supposed to have 3 cold weather rations. Now, for survivalist and militia, well, what would you do for the hot meals? That would be where you could supply the white rice tier people, maybe bulk instant potatoes, soup. You know, those 4-person, supposedly 4 to 8 serving soup pouches. That's when these come into play. So, and then obviously meat. I will mention this, in cold weather you are going to want to supply meat if you're doing a hot meal. What are your options, or most likely options? Well, in the northern part of the country, fish. And for those of you that aren't aware on this, in wintertime you have a flip inside the water. So during the summer months, the colder water is down low and the warmer water is up top. Well, in wintertime, that flips. The hot water actually sinks to the bottom and the cold water rises to the top. And then the fish are found down deep in those lakes, in those rivers, in those ponds. during wintertime, they're going to be in the low parts. So it wouldn't hurt. Find those locations on those sportsman's maps now so that you can locate them for when you need it. Then you just, drill out or cut out your hole up above, run your line down, and you're going to want to run it almost down to the bottom. The fish during winter do not move much, so that little enticement, that hook with food on it, needs to essentially be right in front of their mouth, and then they will suck it right in. That's the basics on ice fishing. Ice fishing. Take a drink here because I'm getting tongue-tied. No, it's not alcohol. It's just a soda to clear my throat. The other likely protein that you'll come across in wintertime is some type of venison. So deer, elk, caribou, reindeer, depending on where you are, different things that you call it, moose. Things like bear and small game typically go into hibernation over wintertime, but the animals that have antlers, they're more active during wintertime to try to stay warm. They don't bed down in the ground or in a tree or anything like that. So remember the protein content and that stuff in your hot meals. Make sure that your people get that. Goddamn. Now, before someone says anything about the Inuits eating seal fat, Arctic adventurers and explorers eating bars of butter, be advised, in the case of the Inuits, their livers are a lot larger than yours. It is genetic, so their bodies can process it. If you eat too much raw fats like that, just straight fats not combined with something else, it actually can be toxic to you. So keep that in consideration. You want more of the proteins going with your stuff, really. Any questions? Okay, let your discussion go on down below. Seriously, don't just throw garbage out there. Put some actual researched, thought out information down there to help people out. Now, for all my engineer brothers in the Patriot Militia movements and everyone across the prepping movement, always remember, Essayons, let us try.